here. If you can tell about your experience today with Benito Juarez High School, what did you talk to the students about? How did that go? And what were you telling them in terms of your advice for them?
Yeah, that was really fun. I got to go to the high school, and I'm homeschooled, so it was weird to be in a school again. So I had a lot of fun, though. I went into the auditorium, and I went on stage, which was kind of scary because somebody told me right before I went out there that there was actually about 500 kids out there, which I was totally not expecting. I was not thinking it was going to be that many. So got a little bit stage fright there. No, but it was really fun, and I got to kind of just answer their questions. I mean, they had questions about, what I do in my regular, normal life, and then what it's like working on the films, and then questions about the cast that I work with, and then also questions, they played, I did a thing for Teen Read Week recently, and that was kind of, trying to encourage kids to read more, and I was telling them that I feel like I kind of owe even some of my success so far to the fact that I love reading, just because, reading the books from the Hunger Games and all the fans being, starting with the books, I think that it's a really wonderful thing to just keep reading and stuff like that. So, I got to answer a lot of their different questions, so it was fun.
So this is the advice you gave them, just keep reading?
Yeah, because, I read constantly, and I honestly think it helps so much in just, for me, also being able to, having to do interviews and stuff like that, to me, reading has helped, because honestly, if I go too long without reading a book, I feel like I can't talk, which is interesting, but I feel like I've lost words because I haven't been reading, which is kind of weird, but it's true, yeah.
Great.
So how does it work being homeschooled and then also working on the set?
Basically, my mom and dad kind of switch off being my teacher, and then when I'm on set, I have a tutor, and I basically have to get done 4 hours a day of schoolwork while I'm working on set. So I work on set as well as do 4 hours a day of school, and then when I'm not working on a film, then I just do kind of the regular amount of school, just like everybody else. And I have friends that are homeschooled too that I hang out with and do school with when I'm at home.
How has Prim's character evolved over the course of the 3?
I think Prim's character has evolved a lot. I mean, not only do you see her change the most physically in the films, but you also see, you don't necessarily see a lot of changes, but for me, I feel a lot of changes in her character, being the person who plays her. It's like she starts off as this really young girl who's kind of like scared of this world that she lives in, and then she's starting, you see her in Catching Fire discovering who she is as a person, and the fact that she wants to become a doctor, and you see in Mockingjay her really, she finds a lot of strength in herself that she didn't know she had, and she obviously gets that from Katniss, and she kind of is able to help Katniss a lot in Mockingjay, which is an interesting dynamic to see, because you see Katniss falling apart and then asking Prim for advice and help, which is, she's in a tough place when she asks Prim for help and advice, and she knows her sister is smart enough and now strong enough to answer those questions and help her, which is really cool.
Do you think you've gained anything out of being in this experience beyond just being recognized on the street and like gaining fame?
Absolutely. I mean, I think to me that's never the first thing that I think of as far as being involved in this film industry. I think that the first thing that comes to mind is just growing as an actor, because it is what I want to do as a career. And when I first started these films, it was just for fun, and I never really knew if I wanted to do it as a career, but now I'm sure of that. And I think that I've learned a lot about acting through this journey too, working with people like Jennifer Lawrence, Julianne Moore, Philip Seymour Hoffman, all these A-list actors that are just so incredible to witness work. And, you never dream that you'd see these Oscar winners work right before you in person. So I think I've learned a lot about acting too.
So I love your dress.
Thank you.
You used to do like a lot of face modeling, and with Marc Jacobs, you were the face of nylon. Do you still like want to continue with fashion, or?
I do. I love fashion. I went to New York Fashion Week recently, which was a lot of fun, and I got to go to different shows and wear the clothes, which was awesome. And yeah, I love fashion, and I think that it's something that I love because it's a different kind of way to express yourself, and it's like a way to express yourself without having to open your mouth, and I like that. It's kind of an alternative way, and yeah, I have a lot of fun with it, and it was incredible to, be able to do things like that nylon shoot and, have some designer like Marc Jacobs say that you're their muse is like pretty insane. I'm actually wearing Marc Jacobs right now.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's pretty cool.
So you seem to be really in touch with, obviously, the creative industry, whether it be fashion, like you said, you love to read.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, as far as music, how that helps you get through, doing these press tours, and also your opinion on what has been released of the soundtrack so far.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I was stoked to find out that Lorde was curating the soundtrack. I mean, she's one of my favorites. I love her. I got super excited when they released the music video recently because I think she's so crazy talented, and her take on the soundtrack is just awesome, and I know she's going to do an amazing job, and from what I've heard already from the soundtrack, it's incredible. And music does help a lot in getting through press tours, and also I think even a little bit with acting as well. I feel like sometimes you're on set, and if you need to get in a certain mood for your scene, music can help, and just putting on a certain song on your iPod can really help, and I think that that's something that like I've learned as well, and so music is a really big part of my life as well. Yeah.
How would you say the film reflects the book?
I think it reflects it very well. I think we went into this nervous that crazy fans of the book would not fall in love with the movies, and we learned very quickly that they did, and they were very happy with it, which made us extremely happy because we all, the only nerves we had was for that, and we wanted to fulfill our characters as best as we could and make the fans happy. So that was the only hard thing for us, but I think it went over very well, and I think that the fans are very excited for the films, and I think, I've already seen Mockingjay Part 1, and it sticks really close to the book, and I think that's a big part, and it's wonderful, yeah.
First of all, congratulations on your success and on staying so grounded. I think
thank
that's
you.
wonderful. I think you're one of those role models we want our kids to look up to.
Yay!
So thank you for that. And
Yeah.
this is just out of the blue. Did you find it kind of cute how you have like a nature-inspired name, sort of your siblings, and then also in the movie?
Yeah, it's funny because I just had a conversation with my mom in the car about this because, yeah, I have a nature-inspired name, and then my brother is River, and my twin sister is Autumn. So it's kind of a theme, and I get asked all the time, are your parents hippies? And I'm like, no, it's just they wanted something interesting. But no, it is an interesting connection, and I love the name Primrose. I think it's beautiful, and it's so it fits her so well because she's so sophisticated, and so I think that she's prim and proper in a way, I think, and I think that it just fits perfectly.
And she's just that bloom in the middle of that chaos, right?
It's, there's one common theme for Prim throughout the entirety of these films, is that she's always the light through all of these films. You see so much darkness with Katniss and her fight and all of this stuff, and Prim is always the light in her world, at least, and you get to see that, which is really cool.
And it's really nice how you're connecting your connection to the Hunger Games to hunger, anti-hunger campaigns here in the U.S. too. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What are you involved in?
Yeah, I think I'm involved in a few different charities and stuff, but I think that's really important. If you have any way of connecting a huge fan base to a charity organization, then you should do so because it's very important, and I think that, just to bring awareness to that is awesome, and if you can do it in this way, then why not?
Thank you.
So going back to the reading, I know you had all different questions around here, but my story has a different niche. So if you can tell me what's your favorite book and why?
Oh gosh, I don't have a favorite book. There's no way that I could ever choose a favorite book. I think that one of my favorite authors is John Green because I read all of his books like 2 or 3 years ago, and he's one of my favorites, and I love his book Looking for Alaska the most. But I also love some of the more classics, like one of my favorites is To Kill a Mockingbird, and then I love The Bell Jar and Girl Interrupted. I think those are all wonderful books. So I think that it's just, and I love reading a variety of things, so anything that's different. And recently I've been trying to, because sometimes I just read a lot of like teen novels that come out because I'm a big fan of teen novels, just like anybody else my age. But then recently I've been trying to like, you know, look for more sophisticated novels that are harder to read, because I'm getting to a point where I'm like, I really want something that's hard to read. So it's getting into trying to read like Romeo and Juliet and stuff like that, which is harder, but it's still fun. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
How did you initially land the role for Prim?
It was an interesting process. I was living in New Mexico, and there's film going on there, so that's kind of how I started in acting. But I guess they couldn't find anyone in LA that they liked, so they started looking everywhere and asking people to send in audition tapes. So I taped something and sent it in, and it was the scene with Jen and I where we are saying goodbye, and I'm handing her the Mockingjay pen, a very emotional scene. And so I flew into LA for my callback, and I expected to see tons of girls there. You know, it's like, oh, there's no chance I'm getting this, right? So I go, and the director and the producers are all there, and I do it for them, and then the director just tells me in the room that I got the part. Like, you don't have to worry about auditioning anymore because you had the role. Which was surprising, and it was all, I mean, I felt like it was perfect in a way. Like, I felt like it just worked. Like, the audition was, you have those moments as an actor where you go into an audition room and you just say to yourself, wow, that really just happened. And it was like easy, and it was just, it was natural. And then sometimes you're like, you know, I'm not sure. But that was definitely a moment where it was like, it just worked. And I think that, you know, I guess they saw that. And so it was definitely a surprising thing. And I guess it doesn't happen very often that you get told that you have the part in the audition room, which is really cool.
How do you think, like, kids and teenagers can relate to the whole story behind the Hunger Games?
I mean, I think that there's a lot of things they can relate to, and then there's some that they can't. But I think the big story is that Katniss is really quite, I mean, she's just like a lot of other people, except for she's living in this world, and I think that she's kind of lost, and she's trying to find out who she is as a person throughout all of this, and you see that because she's uncertain of who she loves as far as, you know, Peeta and Gale, and then, you know, she's always certain that she loves Prim, but, you know, you see that struggle with her, and then you also just see a lot of things that go on, you know, you get to find out what's going on in her head while reading the books, and it's just, you know, there's a lot of things that she talks about where you're going, oh, I can relate to that. I understand what you're saying, but then again, you know, the story is also about one girl basically fighting to save everybody, and that there's nothing that you can relate to in that. But I think it's just an awesome story for teenagers to read anyway, because I think it's also amazing because it's kind of, amongst a few others, one of the first films that's really brought a woman to the screen, and she's very strong, and I totally respect that, and I think that that's really great, and I think that that's a wonderful story, is that, you know, one woman can change the world, really. Yeah.
So you talked about working with these amazing actors. Can you touch upon maybe what the atmosphere is like when you first started working with them versus now that you...
Yeah, I mean, 10, working with, like, 20-year-olds and upwards, you know, so that was interesting. I mean, I was very nervous about the whole thing. It was, it was nerve-wracking. I mean, I was very scared because at the time, I was scared of high schoolers because I was still in middles. I was deathly scared of high schoolers, and now I'm working alongside 23-year-olds. That was like, whoa, no, I can't do it. I can't speak to them. Don't look at me. I was scared, but I met Jen, and she was so kind, and she was just like, the first time I met her, she hugs, you know, it's just like, I think that she helped so much. She just like took me under her wings and was like, okay, I'm going to help you, I'm going to get you through this, you know, and it's like, she was really there for me. And then now it's like, they all treat me like anybody else on set, and I'm not scared of them at all in any way. And it's a great vibe on set. Everybody's just there doing what they love and having fun, and there's just a lot of joking around that goes on set, but we get the movie made, surprisingly. But yeah, it's awesome.
So, Jennifer Lawrence and then Josh Hutcherson and Liam, they're always like talking about pranks that play on each other. Have you been involved in any pranks or any stories?
I haven't been involved in any pranks, but we're always messing around on set. I mean, sometimes the director jokes around with us. He's like, okay, guys, with this, like, dead serious face, we need to work now. And then he just laughs. He's like, no, I'm just kidding. Like, we don't have to work. But yeah, we literally are laughing all the time until they say action. And then we laugh again once they say cut. So it's literally like this circle of, like, laughter that it just stops for a few seconds each here and there. But, I mean, Jen is so smart funny. Like, she's not only funny, but she's smart funny. So you say something, and 2 seconds later, she's made a joke out of it, and it's the most hilarious joke you'll ever hear. So you'll probably hear the laughter from a mile away. And so I've never been involved in any pranks, but we're always having fun on set.
When your parents first found out, well, I'm sure you expressed your want and desire to have this part. Mm-hmm. Were there any reservations that they had as far as you going to LA? And I mean, this is a big project to take on.
I think there was a little bit of I don't know. I mean, I think we were still somewhat unaware of how huge this was going to become, because we knew there was a huge fan base for the books, but you never know about the film. I mean, so we weren't completely, I guess, sure about that, and that's what made them not as reserved about it, because they were more like, well, it's a great role in a great film, but they didn't. I don't think they expected it to take off as much as it did, and for me to be doing this now. But I think there was a little bit of a reservation as far as just this is getting serious. We're flying to LA for everything goes through their mind, and they're like, what if this? That just happened. What are we gonna do now? And it was so it's and it. They had to do a lot of balancing while I was filming, as far as my mom went with me because my dad was working, and then my dad took off work to film Mockingjay Part 1 and 2 with me so that they could switch. So they balance a lot of that too, which is kind of hard. But yeah.
Did everybody get a chance, or we still got 2 more left?
2 more, yeah.
Okay, then that's left.
So what do you think of Chicago?
I love Chicago. My dad's from here, so I've visited quite a few times. But yeah, I love it. I love the cold, because I actually still live part-time in New Mexico, and we get snow in the winter, but I've been in LA for 3 months, and I miss the cold weather. I'm like, no, Starbucks has Christmas cups, and it's 90 degrees outside. I can't handle it. I hate it so much. So I love coming here, and it just feels so nice to be in the cold.
Do you have any idea what you will want to do after the series is over with?
I'm auditioning for other films, and I have interest in some other films to do after this, but I think that, I definitely want to keep acting. It's just the question of, what's the right part to do right after this series. I think that, part of me wants to do something that's just completely different, and just to kind of show people that, I can play a totally different role, and I think that that's kind of something that I would love to do, but I think it's just whatever part is the right part that comes my way, and everything fits into place, and it just feels just right. I think that's important, and to be able to, as an actor, it's just very important that it all works. You don't want to play a character that you can't
pull off,
or that you can't just give all of yourself to, in a way, where you're reserved about something. Or, I mean, as an actor, I think that's just something that goes through my head when I'm auditioning, is if I'm not going to just go for that and do that without any reservations, I can't pull off the part, in my opinion. So I think that it's just important to find a role that I just feel comfortable in and can work with, but also is really challenging at the same time.
Again, really hard to believe you're this young. Because, thank you so much.
Thank you
so much for everything. We're going to go.